Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Ooh, we got good ones today. You already knew that from the title, right? Yes, I am finally getting to the X-Wing Rogue Squadron comic book series, and I'm going to talk about the first 4 issues today. Now, this was written by both Michael Stackpole and Mike Baron, and it stars your favorites, Wedge, Tycho, and Wes. In this, it kind of focuses on Tycho. He goes undercover as a TIE fighter pilot, and of course he's going to encounter he's helping out Rogue Squadron. It's a little secret mission there. But that's how we get our first story there. Now, I'm not going to really talk more about this story, which I think is good. I think the story was fine. But, man, I hate to sound like a doofus, but did you see those covers by Dave Dorman? Don't they look gorgeous? I absolutely love that first cover. Let's show it again. Look at that. Wedge with his helmet, X-Wings flying in the background. It's so iconic. It's honestly one of my favorite pieces of art from Dave Dorman. I absolutely love it. Now, I actually got to talk to Dave Dorman a few years ago, and he said it was common practice for when Dark Horse was going to release a Star Wars book, or any comic book, and they really believed in, they really wanted this one to sell right, they would call on Dave Dorman to come and do the cover art for the first couple of issues, because they wanted to pop. Because in comic book stores, there's only 100 titles of comic books coming out any given time. Remember, this is back in the 90s too, so I mean, there's probably more than that. There's whole walls of comic books. And people who are just glancing around, when you see a beautiful cover, you automatically, your eyes go to it and go, ooh, look at this. And you're honestly intrigued by it. And so that's why they'd hired Dave Dorman. He did a ton of projects with Dark Horse, not just this one, but they believed in X-Wing Rogue Squadron. Dark Horse did enough to where they said, yeah, let's do this. Now, of course, we have Michael Stackpole, which is very important that he's involved in the comic book, because already he's written some great novels. Now, why am I not talking about the novels first? Because this comic book series came before the novels. And it's supposed to eventually, what Stackpole told us in an interview a long time ago, was it was going to connect to the first novel eventually when the comic book series ended, which for me, I was super excited to hear about. So that all being said, why is Mike Baron there? Why is he co-writing this with Michael Stackpole? Well, I have 2 theories. The first one is that maybe Dark Horse didn't trust Stackpole to write a comic book, and I'm sure Mr. Stackpole had never written a comic book before. There is a difference when writing for comic books than writing for novels, and maybe they brought in a veteran there to kind of help him out. Or another theory could be that maybe Michael Stackpole didn't have enough time. Maybe he's writing the newest novel, or doing other work, and he didn't have as much time to put into the X-Wing comic book, but he did want to be involved. So they brought Mike Baron in there to kind of help flesh out his ideas. Either way, it's fine. It has Stackpole's name on it. Any fans of Star Wars automatically, that's an automatic buy. It's an automatic buy anyway because it's a Star Wars comic book for me, but when I saw that Stackpole was writing it, I was like, oh, heck yes, grab that sucker up. And of course the cover, it made for it was the perfect marriage for a comic book there. So the first 4 issues really give you a punch. You really, even though it's a different crew in the X-Wing Rogue Squadron than there are in the novels, eventually, almost positively, familiar faces will pop up, and the pilots involved aren't going to be around, either through death or maybe through promotion or transfer or whatever. But it was an exciting beginning to a comic book series. Now, you may ask the question, well, Matt, why didn't they ask more authors to write comic books? Well, I think now remember, a few people did. A few of them, I think Zahn came over and wrote some, and Anderson, of course, did some. But I think one of the reasons was maybe they weren't asked because maybe they weren't interested, or maybe they were too busy writing their own books. And you don't always have to have an author of novels write for comic books too. Dark Horse had John Ostrander and Hayden Blackman, who I think were both very capable of coming up with the good stories. Now, John Ostrander obviously wasn't interested in that era of Star Wars. He was writing more in the prequel era, which was fine, but they did have their own great authors too, writers too. They didn't need authors from Bantam novels, even though it's a good idea because it's cross-marketing, baby, because everyone who bought those remember, these novels are flying off the shelves. Why wouldn't you ask that author, hey, you need to come down here and write a comic book series about us? You know, it can, and maybe have it complement your books that are going on. Now, maybe that was discussed at Dark Horse, but you know, the authors turned it down. Who knows? I'm just saying that this series started off as a great idea, but did it finish that way? Well, you'll have to find out in another video. See you then.